Morning everyone. It's miserable and raining today, so coming inside. I'm going to do a couple of things to the 441, basically to improve it a bit. Really, these are things you can do to saws, as long as you know what you're doing. First thing I'm going to do, I've already taken the bar and the clutch off. Sorry, the bar and the chain off. I can tell it's a bit early in the morning. First thing I'm going to do is take this rim, this rim sprocket off. Just bear with me. There we go. Little circlip comes off. Then we have the retainer. Then we have the actual. And then we actually have the actual sprocket itself. Now, if you look at this sprocket, this is the first thing I'm going to do. Now, if you actually look at this sprocket here, see if I can get in there. You may or may not be able to see, but it actually says 3/8-7. Now, what that means is that this is a 7-point sprocket. What I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it with an 8-point sprocket. It's very simple, very easy to do. All that's involved in it is pop your new sprocket on there, replace your retainer and replace your circlip. Now, one thing that I'll usually do if I'm messing about changing sprockets, I'll tell you why I'm doing this in a minute. One thing that I'll usually do is I will check the condition, see if I need to change the actual sprocket itself. This is fine, it is a new one. Clutch seems fine. Now, one thing I'll usually do is if I've got the saw pulled to bits like this, I'll check the condition of the sprocket. This is fine. This is new actually. Not an issue, doesn't need to be replaced. Check the condition of the needle bearing. Again, that's fine. This is new as well. These things only cost coppers. Note that when you're putting your sprocket back on, there's a witness mark and you need to align it, otherwise it will not fit properly. There we go, that's it in. Now, why am I bothering to do this? Why am I bothering to change a 7-point rim sprocket for an 8-point rim sprocket? Very simple. I'm going to be working up the forest. I'm going to be cutting a lot of very big softwood. When you put a bigger drive sprocket on, what happens is you get a lot more chain speed. You don't get as much power, you don't get as much torque in the cut, but you get a lot of chain speed. So with softwood, you really fly through it. If I'm working on hardwood, then I put the smaller drive sprocket on. You don't get as much chain speed, but you do get an awful lot of power in the cut. Imagine this as a guy on a bicycle going along a road at 30 miles an hour. He's probably pretty well going flat out. There's not a lot of power there, but he's doing 30 miles an hour. You couldn't ask him to pull half a ton. You wouldn't get there. Imagine this as a tank going along a road at 15 miles an hour. Okay, so it's only going half the speed, but there's an awful lot of power there. This thing will pull 20 tons without breaking into a sweat if you wanted to. So that's why we sometimes swap these back and forward. Okay, now just to show you the difference, this is a rim sprocket. This is a spur sprocket. The rim sprocket is designed to take one of these. Now, when this thing starts to wear, you can just replace this bit. You don't need to replace the whole unit. When a spur sprocket starts to wear, as this one has, actually you can see it. Well, this is an old one, it's worn quite badly. You need to replace the whole thing. My phone binging at me. So here we have our rim sprocket in place. Here we have our two two actual rim sprockets here. I'm going to put the 8.1 on. Yeah, and you go. Retainer. Now here's a little trick for putting circlips on so they don't spring everywhere. Get your biggest combination spanner that you've got, slide that over the top. Just use that to pull it down. Then if it springs off, it will catch it. There we go. All done. All back together. That saw now will absolutely fly in the cut. I wouldn't use this on very dense hardwood. It's not. It's better to have less speed and more power in the cut when you're using very dense, when you're cutting in a very dense hardwood. One thing that I will always do whenever I strip a saw down to this extent is I'll check the condition of the brake band. This is actually new on here, but because these things cost so little, this is an old sprocket, an old worn sprocket. You can't actually see in here very well, but this is actually getting this was actually getting worn away from the clutch shoes. So that's why this one, which is off another saw by the way, I just thought I'd show you this. This is why this one got binned. This is the actual brake band from the same saw. Now I don't know if you can see that. That is actually worn away there. Brake bands shouldn't really wear out that much because you don't use them to stop the saw. You just use them like a handbrake. You use them to stop the saw from actually starting. You don't use it to bring the chain to a halt. I'll replace these quite often just because they get manky and they only cost a few pence to replace. Underneath the actual sprocket, of course, look at one of my other videos, you have the clutch, and underneath the clutch you often have something like this. This is the actual drive for the oil pump, and it fits into a worm gear. As that spins around, it fits into a worm gear which drives the oil pump. You may or may not be able to see in here, there's actually a bushing, and you can't really see it, I'm sorry. The bushing actually gets quite worn. Oh, sorry, I can't actually demonstrate that to you. This isn't a bearing inside here, it's just a bushing, brass or copper or something, and it does get worn. Again, they only cost a few quid, so you replace that while you're on. A lot of people don't know to do these things with saws, which is why you never buy a second-hand chainsaw. I mean, I would, but I'd strip the thing down and figure out what's going on with it. The next thing that I'm going to do to just improve this saw, because one of the problems with a more powerful saw like this, which is a 70cc saw, and we run quite a long bar on it, not the longest. This is an old bar. You see, that's the length of the bar we actually run on this. It's 20 inches. I will point out this is an old one. We don't actually run this one. The problem with running a long bar on a saw like this is that it will tend to meander in the cut, and it's worse if you've actually been sharpening your chain cutters by hand, and because of the way that people are physically designed, you always end up sharpening one side of your cutters a bit more than the other, and so the saw meanders, and it's an irritating thing, and it looks a bit dodgy. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to add a second bumper spike, and this is quite a common upgrade. Now the actual bumper spike that came with this, so the factory one, I like it, it's fine. You can get replacements, and the replacements are huge, they're absolutely massive, and to my mind they look ridiculous. But this is the, where are we? If you're interested, that's the actual part number that you're after. Bumper spike comes with Comes with 2 bolts and 2 nuts to help you fit. First thing we need to do is pop off these protective covers. Come on. That's 1. That's 2. You'll see that we've exposed 2 holes here. 1, 2. The instructions in the bumper spikes do actually come with instructions say to drill these out, but these are already pre-drilled. So I'm going to drop one of my bolts through there, other one of my bolts through there. Pop this back on. Pop that one, which goes that way, back on. Okay, then I'm going to take the, angle this down a bit, take the new bumper spike, it just drops on there like that. One on there, one on there. Thank God I'm into chainsaws. I don't know what I would be doing on a miserable day like this otherwise. There we go, second bumper spike. It's as simple as that. Onto the saw. Clutch, sprocket cover back on. There we are. Check the line up. They do. That thing is now not going to wander anywhere when you're cutting. That adds so much stability to a saw, you wouldn't believe it. So there we go. Something a bit more technical for you today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. In my next video I'll probably do something even more interesting, like replacing the exhaust on a chainsaw. I should get out more, really. I really should.